Greetings, Flameborn. This is Eerie Knight of the Pseudoposse, and we are back in Enshrouded, and today we're going to discuss how to vanquish the Corrupted Beast. Possessing a large health pool and a devastating array of high damaging attacks, he is no pushover. He's probably one of the most difficult bosses in the entire game up to this point, so I'll give you my best tips and tricks for defeating him. But before you fight him, you'll need to first light all the balefires to summon him. They are pretty easy to find, as you can see a luminous red beacon, a beam of light emanating from the balefire position all across the map. Once you reach a balefire, light it and take a look around for some more beams of light off in the distance. There are 8 total to spawn the dragon, with the last being located in Everfour Keep. Once you've lit the last fire, the Corrupted Beast will spawn at the Howling Peak. The easiest way I found to reach the Howling Peak is to start from the highest point in Everfour Keep, where you fight the mini-boss with the whip. There is a mountain pass beyond this area that leads up to the cave entrance. Enter the cave, and upon reaching the other side, you are within view of the dragon. I highly recommend placing an altar on top of the mountain. More than likely, you won't beat him on your first attempt, so you'll want a nice fast travel location to restock on any goods, healing potions, or ammo you may need. It is also a very good idea to build something around the altar so that you can place some comfort generating objects. The primary reason for doing so is it saves you from having to fast travel to a nearby base to refresh your well-rested bonus. And believe me, you don't want to do this fight without it. This way, if you lose an attempt, you respawn at this makeshift outpost, regenerate your bonus, and can immediately fly back. It definitely saves a lot of time, so I highly recommend it. Now let's get to the boss mechanics. The fight takes place within the mountain peaks. In between is a large ring covered in snow. In the center and surrounding areas below it is Deadly Shroud, so if you fall in there, instant death. But there are gales of wind that will give you a lift when gliding all around the perimeter of the ring. There are 2 phases to the fight that alternate back and forth. In the first phase, the Corrupted Beast will be in the center of the ring. If you start to fly upwards, that indicates he will breathe fire around the ring. He won't ever change direction mid-attack, so once he starts, he will continue in that direction. This attack stuns if hit, so if you get caught by a direct attack, you are most certainly dead. Next is the meteor. He'll do a little twirl, spewing a bunch of meteors. They do AoE damage upon landing and leave smoldering spots on the ground that if walked over, you'll take damage over time. His next attack doesn't do a lot of damage, but he creates a huge gust of wind with his wings, sending you flying. The last attack is actually what he does when he transitions to the second phase. He'll start flying and breathing fire towards the outer ring. During the second phase, he'll spend his time moving around the perimeter of the ring. Either he'll repeat his wind attack, trying to knock you off. He also has his fire breath, except instead of going around the ring, he mostly just aims it at you. This attack isn't as strong as the fire around the ring, but the damage can quickly accrue if you stay within it too long. He also has another fire-breathing attack in which he'll horizontally sweep a flame across the arena. Lastly, he'll use the same flying and breathing attack when he transitions back to the first phase in the center of the ring. So how do you ultimately defeat him? The tip is actually provided by the game itself as you approach the dragon. Either you parry his projectile or use stun arrows, which are crafted at the hunter. He has a bar underneath his health that fills every time you successfully parry a projectile or hit him with an arrow. Parrying gives a much larger boost to filling the bar, while the arrows provide a smaller but more frequent means to fill the bar that isn't reliant on the boss attacking you. Unfortunately, the only attack that is able to be parried is the meteor, so relying purely on parrying will make the fight last much longer, as a minute or 2 might go by in between meteor attacks. Once the bar fills and he staggers, he immediately will fall on the ring in which you have a chance to attack him. For melee characters, this is the only time you'll be able to do meaningful damage, while ranged builds can pepper him with staff attacks and arrows throughout. After his time laying on the ground is done, he'll summon a bunch of wyverns that will chase after you while he resumes his normal attack routine. That concludes the boss mechanics. Now we are going to enter into the realm of strategies and tips to defeat him. Let's start with preparation. Regardless of your character build, bring stun arrows. That was implicitly implied just before, but now I'll state that outright. Relying purely on parries will make the fight drag out too long. At a minimum, bring around 150 arrows, though I would recommend bringing over 200 just to be safe. Stock up on plenty of health potions. Even lower grade potions can be useful if crafting resources are a bit tight, as the greater health potion is easier to craft than the superior or revitalizing health potions. These weaker potions can be useful in counteracting the weaker attacks or all the dots you are bound to get through the course of the fight. Make yourself the best foods for your build. For me, that was the milkshake for all the bonuses to endure endurance and stamina recharge for all the gliding you're going to be doing, the beef stew for all the melee health and frost resistance, and the open sandwich for more melee and health. For melee builds, I would also highly recommend placing a Vuka shrine to give yourself the Vukar bonus that gives you some extra hit points, but more importantly, 20% more melee damage. Once you are ready and in the fight, regardless of your character build, parry meteors as much as possible as they fill the bar the quickest. However, immediately run as a flame attack is usually imminent. When the snow is covering the ring, it is nearly impossible to outrun his flame attack. Instead, glide off the ring into the gales so you can circle around the ring until it is safe to land. It is possible to position yourself while he is flaming completely or opposite your position. Take that opportunity to pepper him with stun arrows. In general, it is better to glide off the ring for safety instead of running on it. This also allows you to avoid all the AoE burning regions on the ring as he does his various attacks. Those dots can absolutely shred through your hit points. Over time, his attacks will actually destroy the top layer of snow, making running a lot easier and a viable way of avoiding his flame attacks. When he uses his wings to try and shove you off the ring, immediately go into a glide. You might have some bad luck and get thrown into a bad position and die, but most of the time you can use the gales to get yourself high enough to make it back onto the ring. When he transitions to the next phase, simply be out of the way of fire. This is one of the easiest attacks to avoid, so just stay away. Speaking of easy attacks to avoid, when he gets low and starts to breathe fire beam horizontally across the arena, just jump over it. You can use the opportunity to get some stun arrows in. When he is gearing up for his wing attack to produce a gust of wind, make sure the inner circle of the ring isn't behind you, as if you get shoved in there, your chances of survival are not high. Though not impossible, initiating a jump after being shoved can help with recovery. Either try to line it up so you get pushed along the ring, or into a gale so you can glide to safety. Many of my early deaths were from getting knocked into the interior, so avoid that mistake. As for his other flame attack in this phase, simply run, jump around, or if the snow is slowing you down, jump off and glide into the gales to fly around the ring. That is the gist of it, but there are some annoyances that can make this fight more grueling. First off, if you are melee, you will have a tougher time, as you can only do damage when you fill his stun bar, and sometimes he lands with his head off into the ring, which is not hittable. Don't try it. You can use a wand to hit him at that range, but you'll do less damage if you aren't a high-powered magic user. Aside from that, he'll sometimes like to wing attack and force you off the ring, and then do a meteor attack, missing out on a juicy parry opportunity, making the fight go longer and increasing the likelihood that one little mistake leads to instant death. Get unlucky and hit by a direct fire breath, dead. Get unlucky with how you got blasted off, dead. Finding the opportunity to parry even when he does the attack might be tricky, and then you'll have to wait till he rotates back to the attack. And there is no guarantee a successful parry will actually hit him. There is a decent chance it will whiff on by him. So if he doesn't play fair, can you not play fair as well? Yes, actually. You'll notice around the ring are mountain ranges. Venture too far beyond and the boss will reset. But if you stand on them, the boss is still in play. I would recommend the mountain range to the right upon entering the arena, as that gives a nice amount of room to run. Unfortunately, you cannot place an altar around here to build yourself a little fortress, but that isn't the end of the world. Fighting from this area does present some nice advantages. One, you completely avoid phase 1 attacks while he is in the center ring. Yes, you do miss out on the meteors, though you could try to glide back and get those. But I find that avoiding his phase 1 fire breath attack around the ring completely outweighs the loss of the meteor parries. That is his strongest attack, so avoiding that is awesome. During the second phase, he will fly over to you, but these attacks are generally weaker and more avoidable. The real danger is the gust of wind from his wing attack forcing you off the mountain, but you can usually get back and avoid the boss resetting. The real strength in the strategy is you have much, and I mean much, more time to pepper him with the stun arrows. Essentially the entirety of phase 1. If you bring a bunch, you can simply plop down the mountain range, pepper him with arrows till he is stunned, fly to the ring, whack him, and then glide back. Taking out the wyverns on the mountainside is much safer than on the ring, as you don't have to worry about his phase 1 attacks simultaneously. That being said, make sure to take them out, as otherwise you'll have an army chasing after you. By using this strategy, you can avoid some of his most dangerous attacks while having more time to fill his bar and attack him yourself. Naturally, if you have a ranged character build, you can plop down on the mountainside and use your arrows and just pepper him. If you aren't spec'd into it, the damage is minimal and not worth it, as you won't do nearly enough damage just before you freeze to death. But it is a viable strategy if you can do high range damage. The only issue with this strategy is getting caught by a bad wind and dying in the shroud, or when trying to outmaneuver the wyverns, especially in the dark, falling down and resetting the boss when he is almost dead. That one hurt a lot. Don't fight at night, that is just a recipe for disaster. Well, I hope this video makes the boss easier for you all and avoids some unnecessary deaths. Thank you all for watching. If you found the video useful, consider hitting that like button for the almighty YouTube algorithm and subscribing to the channel if you aren't already a member. Don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. I'd also like to thank our awesome Patreon community for your generosity. Your contributions go a long way to keeping our channel up and running. On that note, this is Eerie Knight signing off. See you all in the next one.